How's it going? Welcome to another episode of Lost Like Mike. I'm your host. I'm the host, Mike Gonzalez. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate the comments and, of course, the emails to lostlikemike@gmail.com. Last week was a fun episode. We had our first guest, and I appreciate the comments and the conversations that I had about that episode. For those of you that didn't listen or watch it, that's fine. If this is your first episode, I had my daughter came in and she answered a few questions and played around a little bit. It was fun. I really enjoy having somebody to play off of, and I really would like that if to in the future have a guest or to extend the conversation to having another person involved. But yeah, that was a great episode. I had a good time. I think we're on episode 26 or 27, somewhere on there. I got an update from Buzzsprout, who hosts my podcast, and for the year in review, and I see a lot of different I call them amateur podcasts. Like a lot of folks have their own podcasts. Certain styles of podcasts do really well. The ones that deal with true crime and stuff like that, they do real well. And I'm not a numbers guy when it comes to, like, I don't really care, but it does, you sort of notice how many downloads and things, and it's interesting to see how many countries you're in, and the growth over the 6 months, because it's been we're at the 6 month mark right now of doing these shows. I get a kick out of them. I enjoy doing these shows. It forces me to think about things, look inward, talk about things that are important to me, to look back on stories, and I talk to the people I see the most. I do performances 3 to 4 times a week with my cousin, and he says ever since I've started having these shows, I've been a much more relaxed person, or a much more expressive, centered person, I guess is his general perception, perspective. It's his opinion. It's the way he sees me. I just said 2 words that I'm sure I misused, but we only move forward here at Lost Like Mike. Anyway, today I'm going to allow myself to randomly think of stories from my past. I don't want to really put no rules of engagement for today. I have some random topics pulled up on it's a random topic generator conversation starter. We talked about doing that every now and then. I have that pulled up on the computer there, on the laptop, and if it sparks memories, if it brings things to mind, then we'll talk about it. So let's go ahead and kick off the episode. I am doing it consistently now on Sundays, after church. We just we got back, and today at church, it's really it's a really cool church that I go to. They brought this speaker in. They gave us a free book. When I say it out loud, it kind of sounds cultish, but it's really not that. They just gave us these books for Christmas and brought this fella in to talk about it and about living a purposeful life. And he really did walk a good balance between like making it about God and religion, and kind of also making it a sort of the importance of having of leading your life into the direction that you want to go in, of being sort of motivational speaker, but not just perfectly preachy at the same time, because you are in a church and you're going to hear, it's going to be in the context of living a purposeful life and having it in the sort of framework of being morally just and being, in the honoring God, And so my takeaways, first off, the idea that it's so true. One of the things that was pointed out early on was how you sort of wake up and time has passed and you're just sort of finding yourself where you are, right? And the danger of that, how time can get away from you, and the next thing you know, it's passed you by. And his point was to every now and then take stock into where you are, assess where you're at and where you would like to be and what that looks like, and take steps towards getting to that place. That it's possible and to live your best life and to live. There's nothing wrong with pursuing things like professional success, but when you're assessing your life, is it all the things that you should find important, like friends or family, or balancing the time that you have with loved ones and with building a life that provides for them, very, it seems very commonsensical, but I think that it's important to take stock. And sometimes we get in this this homeostasis, like where we're comfortable and we don't want to shake anything up outside of that, where it's safest to watch a TV program and eat some dinner that you shouldn't be having, and instead of taking chances and doing things that are scary. And that's what a lot of us do. I know I do it for whatever reason. I feel like if I'm not distracted, or I'm not, I feel like I suffer from overstimulation sometimes, where if I don't have different media going on at the same time, then I'll be forced to be introspective and think about why I'm not where I want to be, or I get overly internalized and I think too much. And that's kind of, it makes sense that it's hard for me to sit down and say, okay, well, take stock of where you are in life. Where should we be in the next year? What do I like to accomplish? All that kind of stuff. Recently, it's been difficult for me to do that because I feel like it not only does it cause anxiety on the level of success and failure, like I'm afraid to fail or afraid to take chances towards the things that I want to accomplish. But it also just reminds me of the futility of things and the very temporary nature of existence, It's like that Edie Brickell song where she says everything is temporary. I want to say the colors slip into the sky. Let me see. Hold on. We've got a minute to hang out and we'll do this. Edie Brickell. Oh, Jesus. Come on, man. She had that song. Her big hit was I'm not aware of too many things. She married Paul Simon for a while there. Whatever. I know what I know, if you know what I mean. Anyway, yeah. But she used to have this song about friends. The internet, if I could type faster. Another quality show. When the streets are wet, the colors slip into the sky. But that means you and I are temporary. She doesn't say that, but that's what she's in. There's something beautiful about being in the moment, knowing that you have to make it count. If you can live in paradise forever, then some of those things wouldn't taste as sweet. But I'm not trying to be poetic about it. It's just really, at the same time, I kind of wouldn't mind, the security of living in forever for a while, But my uncle passed away, and I talked a little bit about it on previous episodes. I think about maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years, maybe a year and a half ago, he reached out. No, actually, I could tell you exactly when he reached out. It was 2 years ago. I just graduated from college, and he sent me a letter, and he let me know that he was very proud that I had graduated from college. And he regretted not, because he lived in another state. When I was little, he took a liking to me. My mom would always tell me it was her brother, and she would say how he would want to take me with him if he could. But flash forward many years into the future, and he felt that it was a regret in his life that he never kept in touch with me over the years. So we started corresponding by way of emails, and I wrote him back in pen pal style, where you write a physical letter. But his hands were, in his words, paraphrasing, they didn't work well. So he would use this thing where he would dictate the what he would say onto emails, and it would type it out for him. So we would talk about how I didn't know anything about my mother's history or family tree. And there was a lot of misconceptions based on just the very little that I knew, right? So over the past 2 years, he would write me these long emails about where they came from and their history, and I would write him back and send pictures of my kids and stuff, and I think I talked about that part of it on a previous episode, that I really felt like it was sort of cowardly of me. I don't know if I was raised that way, or what glitch is in my character, that it's very difficult for me in certain social situations. Certain things are difficult. So I could never pick up the phone and call. I couldn't do it. And I would just go back and write another email and try to say it that way. I didn't know how to initiate that first point of contact. And that part I really super kicked myself about. Because there it was, a couple weeks ago, you get that feeling when you hear somebody sick and it doesn't ring the same way as it does at other times, like so-and-so's not doing well, they're not feeling well, they're sick or whatever. And you just know in your heart that you got to reach out or try to do something. And I just, for whatever reason, I couldn't do it. So I would do it through proxy. I would call my mom and say, "Mom, could you find out how he's doing? Find out, whatever." But so anyway, his family really does it right. And when I say his family, he's my family. I'm saying, but his direct, his kids and his grandkids and stuff. They set up a memorial Facebook page where they just have all these photographs and history. And they invited me and all of our extended family members to go on there and take a look at it. And you see it on all these different, on flights. There's this picture of him looking out a window. And pictures of him fighting in Korea. But going to family functions with kids and, kissing babies and all these different things, right? And it's the more and more I see these photographs, you just realize you don't even know. I don't even know him at all. It sounds silly, but he was drinking, and what appeared to be, he was drinking a beer with ice in it. And so foreign to me. I don't know why that picture's just stuck in my head. Like, where you want to ask what was going on in that moment. And I don't know. If you take one thing and then you put it onto other family members and and say the same thing. You know, I don't just sit back and hang out and socialize with my brother or my sister. I talk to my mom on the phone several days, you know, many days a week. But it's a shortcoming in my mind, like that I don't have the relationships that I see on Facebook and with different families, and you know, it's very foreign. That's definitely on my list of to do better, but I think, you know, how do you become better at that? I don't know. I'll have to figure that out. But I do admire that they do that. It's very cool. Yeah. So yesterday I say yesterday, put in for a week. As you know, I perform a lot of shows with my cousin, performances where I sing and play guitar. And we do them in 4-hour segments. So sometimes we play from 1 to 5, sometimes from 5 to 9, sometimes 9 to 1. It just depends on the day and what's going on. And we just got started on a 1 to 5 4-hour slot, and management calls and says, "Hey, the nighttime guy is calling in. Can you at first they were like, can you not do the 1 to 5 and do 5 to 9 instead?" And we're like, dude, it's 1:30 and we've been playing already. So, and I told him, all right, well, look, I was on the phone. Vince does all that. So he asked if I was down, and I said, look, tell him we'll do a double if he needs us to, or if she needs us to. And if she says yes, then we'll do it, you know. Because sometimes they'll be like, it's cool, we'll find somebody or whatever, right? But they were like, yeah, if you could do it, go for it. So we performed yesterday for 8 hours. Right? You factor in 15-minute breaks, right? So like over the 8 hours we did 7 breaks, you know, at 15 minutes. It wasn't really wanting to do the math, but it was like an hour and 45 worth of breaks. So it's still like over 6 hours of straight singing. I get hoarse just thinking about it. But if you sing right and you try to sing from the right places and stuff, it's all good. But I could tell you, in the first 4 hours, right, when there wasn't football on the TV, we were making tons of money in our tip jar. Just money kept just boom. It was like every song was like we'd get money, or they'd request more, or they'd throw more, you know. As soon as the football started, that was, I guess, what people were there for or whatever. And it's so funny whenever, it's not, I mean, not haha funny, but whenever we get, because I was there for 8 hours and drinking a little bit of alcohol to try to keep my voice, whatever. I say that it's just cop out. I was drinking, whatever. There's always a point where I'm feeling good. I'm offsetting it by drinking a ton of water, but where I'll say, man, I really want to record a podcast right now. And I've been meaning to mention that on this one, to say that. I don't know if inhibitions are at play. You kind of want to be as raw and as honest as possible. But I've been toying around with the idea of drinking a little bit before the podcast, during the podcast, whatever, to sort of feel it out and see what that would be like. Whether my openness would change, or whether I would just say, overshare, something like that. Who knows? But I ended up, by the end of the show, I'm sober, driving home. Because I park on the usually real high on this parking garage, 8th, 9th floor, and one time I think Vince got stuck on the elevator for like 45 minutes and they got him off, but I already had a pre-existing irrational fear of elevators. One that I've since challenged and I deal with. I'm a functional person, but long story short, I run up and down the stairs. Like, when I park, I go down 8 flights of stairs. When at the end of the night, I'm going up the flights. So anyway, when you walk the 2 blocks or however many blocks from the venue, and then you're going up the stairs, by the time I get up to your car, if you're not sober, I don't know what you are, because it is what it is. Especially, I drink a gallon of water per show, no matter what. So anyway, the place where I work at has this, every quarter they celebrate, like, kind of the employee of the per department, of the quarter. And they also have like a volunteer of the quarter. But I have and they're like, nominate yourself or have somebody nominate you. And they give you like a gift card. And so if they would say do 20 push-ups and you get a gift card, I would like that. Because you want the gift card, but I've always had a problem with sharing good deeds. You don't want to, I don't know. To me, it takes away from it. You always see like these people, like I wanted to sign up for this thing for St. Jude's where you bike ride or you do some type of exercise. And if it in and of itself benefited, like by sharing advertisers or something like that, like, then okay. But anyway, so I joined the group so I could see like what it was all about. But after a while, it was just, all I'd see on this Facebook thing was just these people sort of congratulating themselves for, I don't know, for doing this project. More often than not, it was, I don't know, it just bothered me. Because I don't know. I could understand, to a certain extent, I understand you want to spread out, like the certain ones will say we're spreading the awareness that this is a problem. Not like people don't know that these things are a problem. And I think that the work that St. Jude's does is super important. And I wish that there was a way to give directly to their cancer research and to benefiting the treatment of the children that go there. But I don't know, it just seems kind of self-congratulatory where it's like to put your name out there and say, look, hey, I'm giving money, and you kind of want to share that you do these, like, do different things, but at the same, because you want to encourage other people to pay it forward and to do their part, you know what I mean? Like to say, well, I think it's important that we all volunteer. And if I could say anything, I would say that during the process of volunteering, there's a connectedness that you feel with the community, and a connectedness that you feel with humanity that is very valuable. It feels good. And in that sense, it's very selfish, but I mean, I just have a hard time. I feel that it takes away from it if I share it. I think it was probably Aristotle or something who said that you should do good for its own sake, not for any reward or whatever. It's hard not to feel that good feeling though, when you do that, whatever it is. And I'll also say that I don't do it hardly enough. I'm not sitting here trying to be like, well, anyway, I was hanging out with Mother Teresa and Mahatma Gandhi, and we were like, what'd you do today? And yeah, I helped some folks. Me too. I don't do it hardly enough. Like, I was reminded of it because some dude was coming up and to me when I was walking to the parking garage. See, everything's connected. It's because I was talking about climbing up and down the stairs. Downtown has a lot of creepy people, and sometimes you'd be a little bit scared, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I can't tell you the number of times that I remember this girl running up with this, she had this backpack, and she was like running up, and she's like, dude, you know, like, you be me for a minute, like, and think of me running at you, and tell me that I shouldn't be at least concerned. So dumb. Anyway, I was crossing the street already because my parking garage was cat a corner. It was the opposite direction. I was on the wrong side of the street. The guy kind of got the vibe that he thought I was crossing because he was coming towards me. But I just was like, whatever, I'm going this way. This is where I'm going. And he kind of says, hey, you doing all right? You wouldn't happen to have 30 cents for pancakes? And that caught my ear. Because it was such a random way to put it. Like, first of all, who has 30-cent pancakes? Because that's kind of cheap. But, like, and it's just been kind of going on for a while. You want to help people, but, like, when people are kind of muttering to themselves or having some sort of schizophrenic like episode, and you know you can't approach them, you can't offer something. And I knew that I had a new coat, and this was a couple weeks ago, and it sounds like I'm jumping subjects, but just hang on. And I really wanted to give away my coat, and I saw this kind of big dude. And it was freezing, and he just had on a t-shirt. He was, kind of walking. And I said to myself, why don't I just take my coat off and give it to him, because I have like 3 layers, and then I'm only going to my car, and then, like, I have a coat at home, a brand new coat, and I was blessed with that for a gift, and I'll just give this to this guy. But like, he was moving at a clip, man. This guy was moving, and after a block, I felt like I was chasing him. So I said, "Well, that's not a good look." So it had gone on for a couple of weeks where I was like, "You want to like help people?" Like, I remember I was walking by this one time, and this homeless dude was walking by me, and I was like, "Hey, man, what's up?" I don't know why. I didn't like I and he was like, "Dude, like, you're the first person to like acknowledge me in forever. Like I'm doing all right, man. Thank you." And I was like, "Well, yeah, I could have just poked the bear and just been like, 'How you doing?' and be like, 'What? I'm Batman,' and like stab me." So like, I'm not too smart. I'm always telling like my son like not to do stuff like that. I don't want him not to not talk to homeless people or like whatever, but it's true. You don't know what's like the reason, if there's like a mental issue going on there, that, and it sucks that that's the way it is. But for like, I've just been lucky not to. But anyway, the 30-cent pancakes guy, I don't know. It caught me off guard because that was a very random way to put it. And so, and the culmination of like failing at all these other times of dealing with these people, I just was like, you know what? And I gave him a stack of tip money and just said, I don't know, go get a bunch of pancakes, man. I don't know what to tell you. And he called me something. He said I was something. Oh man, you're a blankety blank. Like, and I guess it was a good thing, but I was like, okay, take care. That was all I had. That's all the money that I had in the world. So take care. It wasn't all the money I had in the world, but I didn't want to be like, there's more where that's from. I didn't want to, that's so stupid. I didn't want to be like, I didn't want to not, I didn't want to, I wanted to put something out there that made him think, damn, this guy gave me all his cash, just in case he was a robber that was like, wow, you can spare all this money, and then like, I bet you're loaded. I'm Batman, and stab you. So, but anyway, you're chasing that dragon. I'm trying to feel connected, try to feel part of the community, try to feel that thing that I felt with it when volunteering. But it's like I tell my son, just join a soup kitchen or Habitat for Humanity. Like, let's stop trying to, approach homeless people. Or what, I don't know what you call, just street vagrants or people that are, I don't know what you're supposed to call them. Anyway, I remember being in college. I think it was the first time at junior college. I've kind of had several attempts at doing this, whatever. And they had a do it program, I think it was called, where you would volunteer and be a part of like different things in your community or whatever. And one of them was you're a teacher's assistant. And I tried that first. I was a teacher's assistant, volunteered, and it's funny because I didn't make a big deal about it. I didn't think it was all whatever. But maybe a semester later or two, it was probably the next semester, the guy was going to different classes. There was a guy from the program, and he started to tell my story. because when I finished that program, this first semester, you submit a report, and I was kind of on the wrong end of like this a bender going into that time where I really didn't like myself. I was really hating on myself, and I was drinking a ton and just in a bad place. And so I'm trying to get my stuff together. I'm going to class, to school, and I'm volunteering with this program many years ago. And they put me with I think it was like a second grade class, but I was a teacher's assistant for, you'd go for a couple hours or whatever, for a certain period of time. And, you just help set things up, do whatever you got to do, and be a part of them, make their time easier. And anyway, so on this day, one of the last times that I went there, they had this thing where the kids were playing a game, and I can't even tell you what the game is, okay? I mean, what the premise of it was, or how they played it, but here's how it went down. So one of the kids would sit in the middle, and they would put a crown on their head, and the kids would say like this thing, this sing a song or something about whatever. And and then they would rotate, like they would put the next person in the middle, and it was this fun game or whatever, right? And so they thought it'd be funny, or the kids thought it was, they grabbed me by the hand, and they put me in the middle, and they put the crown on my head, and they start singing this song and going around like in a circle, whatever this. And it's been so long that I'm sure I'm butchering the story, but I remember like feeling like these kids, they didn't know me from nobody, but it was kind of like this idea that they were saying like, that I mattered, right? That was kind of I seem to remember that being like the takeaway from the song or something. Like everybody's somebody, right? So you put the crown on your head. Everybody's somebody. You're somebody. You're special. You mean something to us, And then for them to put me in there, at the time, I just about felt like it saved my life. Like I felt like I was floating in space, and these kids sort of reminded, like they let me know that I mattered in some level, some respect. And I said so much in my closing, like, report when I submitted my it was like an exit interview, kind of, where you wrote about the impact of the program on your life. I didn't think anything of it. I said the truth. I said what I thought, and I handed it in. But then, like, it had gone up the chain, and the guy was back in the on campus where I was going to school, and he was telling the story, and it was so wild to know that. And he was saying how, oh, you're you're the guy that was, in such a bad place. And I didn't really think it through before I volunteered and said, oh, that was me who said that. But anyway, also right after that, I volunteered with the YMCA, and I got kicked out because Well, I didn't get kicked out. It's just, well, we're all good, thank you for your help. But I used to be overly competitive. I mean, but we were playing and all the kids are doing this crab soccer where you have to like crawl around like a crab and then kick the ball or whatever. And apparently I got overly aggressive and kicked the ball, and then the ball hit the kid. And they're like, oh, let's just have the kids play. But I didn't like that volunteered with them anyway, because I felt like it was at a weird time, and maybe it was just the person they had in charge of the program, but everything was very accusatory, and it would sound dirty, like the lady, like one of the children went and sat down on the person's lap, and they come over and like, oh, we don't do that. You don't have anybody sit on the lap, and it was just like, it just seemed very like, well, it didn't seem gross until you said it, but now everything just seems real gross, and I don't know. Hey, I get it, but if you would have seen the context, it was very innocent and everything was very, very not like that until they came on to be that way. It was just, yeah. I remember when because I think back on kids, they're not all always super innocent, or sometimes they can be pretty brutal. Like I remember, well, just from when I was a kid, I mean, I remember there was this one bully, and he was way too big for our class. And to give you kind of some perspective, I remember the first day of, I think it was, well, the fourth grade or the third grade, and I went to a private school. It must have been third, whatever, doesn't matter. And I went to a private school. The long story, we can get into that on another day, but the boys would wear like a light blue polo or button down or whatever, either one, and then the girls would wear a white one, and a white shirt, blouse, or button down or polo, whatever. I remember it was like the first day, and all I had was white. I guess just the financial circumstances of my family at the time. And so a little boy came and sat next to me and was talking me up, like, and I was like, cool, I'm making a friend. This is really good. And then he was talking for like a long time, and then I don't know how it came up, but he was just like, oh snap, you're a boy. And he was like, all right, I'm done. He ended up being a really good friend of mine, but he thought I was a girl for the longest time. Anyway, that same time period, I was very little as the point, and very dainty, I guess. I had a little bowl haircut with like red lips and whatever, and like just a whatever. So this kid was like twice my size and was just bullying me pretty bad. And so I don't know what possessed me, but I just like, I punched him, like, and I mean, knocked the wind out of him. I mean, super lucky punch, because I mean, I don't even know I mean, I didn't even know what I was doing. I said, okay, like enough. Like I'm terrified of you, but, and then he ended up being a really good friend for a long time. But a couple times, like, I don't know, I was in situations where I was surprised at my aggression. Anyway, I remember this one time, I think it was in the 4th or 5th grade, and we're in class, and this girl, super cute girl, was like, "Psst, what?" And I look over, and she holds up her notebook, and on her notebook she says, like, hi. And I'm like, this is happening. And I write on my notebook, wrote quick, I write, hi. And I turn the notebook to her and like, hi. And then she is writing, and like the way that the desks are set up, the girl next to her and her kind of like are giggling, whatever. And then she puts the notebook to where I could see it, and things like turned pretty quick. I think she wrote something like "you suck" or something, and I was like, what? And I think I was even like question mark or whatever, like what? Yeah, and then she wrote some curse word like I don't know, dumbass or something like that, but she wrote some sort of thing. And so in my 4th grade mind, I thought, well, oh yeah, you and your friend giggling over there want to say that? All right. And I probably wrote like the B word or something. Nothing too crazy. I wrote it, like you're a, I don't know if I don't even know if I said that. I called her something like that. Like I said, you're a bitch or something. I wrote it on my thing, and I turned it towards her. And I swear to God, this is how it went down. I turn it towards her, and her arm shoots up that quick. And I'm like, what? And I put my notebook down. And the teacher says, yes, ma'am, what's going on? And she says, he called me a bitch, or like he wrote a bad word on his paper. And I said, what? No, what? Teacher, listen. And the teacher's like, show me your notebook. And I said, no, listen, wait. I'm not going to show you my notebook. Wait a minute. She started it, and she wrote a bunch and the girl didn't miss a beat. She held up her notebook. She says, check my notebook. She flipped our pages. I mean, this diabolical, evil person tore out the pages, and I don't know if she slipped them to her friend or like folded them up and hid them. I don't know how she did it, but there I am with this like burning bad word letters on my notepad. And like, I think that was the first time that I had been walked into checkmate by the opposite sex. And I was like, I remember my eyes started, I said, don't you cry. He said, don't you get, but I was like, and the teacher's like, asked me to go outside. And I told him the story. And I think the dude honestly felt sorry for me. Like he wanted to pat me on the back and say, listen, women are going to mess you up for the rest of your life. This is only the beginning. Enjoy it. He just really felt sorry. Like there was something knowing in his eyes that day. And he was like, you ain't got to show me nothing, pal. Like, I'm sure. Because I was like, dude, and he say no more. I know. He almost went, I appreciate that fact that he didn't put me in the grinder. He could have. But that taught me a valuable lesson that day. It was one that I have had to reinforce, learn for many times over. Just that's one example. I've always had a relationship that way. It's a very small school, right? So it's a private school that I went to for many years. I got to know those kids pretty well. Some came and went, but the core group kind of went through the full time. And I remember they had devised this plan to pretend. They made up this fictitious idea that this girl liked me because I was painfully shy, and it was known that I had this inability to talk to this girl. That they somehow shown that this was going on. So it all started that I got this note. Hey, I think you're cute. I like you. Do you like me? Kind of thing. And so I wrote a note back saying, whatever, I like you too, right? And then I got the next note, and this went on, and it was very exciting, it would make me happy. Started asking me questions and saying, I think we should have funny names for each other. I think I'm going to call you this. What should you call me, or what should I call you? And so I'd write back these long letters and be like, in these names, you can call me whatever. This name, I think it was like Marshmallow. Stuff like that was very silly. But these letters they would ask all these random questions, and they were starting to get very they were in deep, right? And then long story short, one day at recess, I see that this group of girls is all sitting together, and they were laughing and whatever, and it turned out that they were crafting these letters as a group, and they would come up with these ridiculous things that they would want me to say or do, or to be like this, or to, kind of like, I would like it if you styled your hair a certain way, or if you would, whatever it is. And sign it under that particular girl's name. And then, they would all be reading my letter aloud to each other and just laughing, and, yeah. It was, but that was my first first interpretations of girls. As far as those same girls would be we would all be inside for whatever reason that we didn't get to go to recess, and they would be like, oh, so-and-so's cute, or this guy is cute, and I like this boy, and they're like, shh, this Mike's right over here, and then they'd be like, oh, nobody cares about him, so let's just keep talking about boys over here. And it was very much like that, you know what I mean? But in the end, it's funny, it's kind of one of the things that toughened me up in the future, where kind of as you start to become, you come into your own, and you start, you find confidence when you stop caring about the girl aspect, you know what I mean? And then you see them out at some party or something, and they're like, wow, you grew up, and all this kind of stuff. And anyway, you remember that you can be burned, so you kind of put up different guards. Or I thought about doing an episode about that, and maybe one day we will, because I think that I have a lot of I've tried to understand my perception of relationships and where I've gone wrong, or when I've like why you always wonder how you become the person you are, and the things that have shaped you. And these are some examples of early sort of dormant stuff that's maybe on a subconscious level has maybe then had an effect on you. But yeah, I mean, the relationships, early relationships, I don't know if that would be boring to everybody. Maybe you could put in the comments or email me and let me know if that's just a silly thing. But I want to relate and share the parts of my life that maybe other people have had as well. So the time got away. I didn't even get to do any random topics, a bunch of random stories, but I didn't get to use the generator. But anyway, good sharing. All right, y'all take care, and I will see y'all next week. Take care.